Hi everyone, it's Rach here from the We Network. I'm founder of the We Network, which is a women in business network for New Zealand women in business who care about growing passion-fueled businesses that line their hearts and their pockets. And I'm really excited because we are here today with Monique Doy from Dressing Up.
Hello.
And I have worked sort of alongside Monique and watched her business journey for the last 12 months, and it has been amazing watching her go from that really beginning early stage in business to starting to take things really seriously and now just absolutely nailing it. So really excited to share Monique's journey with you today. And so what we're going to be talking about today is Monique's journey, some of the challenges that she's had, and also through Dressing Up, Monique has built a wonderful community of her own. So we're going to be talking a little bit about community building and working with influencers, and Monique's going to be giving us some of our tips about what to do if you are thinking about working with an influencer yourself. So thank you so much for coming along, Monique.
You're
really
welcome.
excited to have
So
you
excited
here.
to have you.
So yeah, I wanted to kick off by getting you to share a little bit of your business journey with us. So what you do, of course, and what the last 12 months has been like.
Okay, so my name is Monique and I have a blog called Dressing Up. Hi Trish! And I also have an online store called Dressing Room, which is something that came on from Dressing Up. I started Dressing Up completely by accident because I was doing admin for a whole lot of Facebook groups when I was buying and selling secondhand baby clothes when I first had my girls. And I started talking to the women in those groups about what clothes they were wearing post-pregnancy, because I had had 2 cesareans and I was in hell because I couldn't fit any of my clothes, which I found so depressing. And I started telling them about what I was buying, basically. And eventually I realized that they were all following and they wanted to know what else I was buying, and asked my husband how I could keep the information at the top of the stream, and he said, you need a blog. And so I started Dressing Up. So Dressing Up is about empowering women to feel really confident in their bodies and wear clothes that they love, that they feel really happy in, and kind of to take those risks, to wear those things you really, really, really like, even though you might not have before. And Dressing Room is a store that sells designer clothes sizes 12 to 22, because I want all women to have clothes in their size that they love, basically.
Awesome. And there's a whole lot of stuff that Monique has done in the last 12 months. So it's been really, as I said, really inspirational watching this journey. And I know we were talking before we went live about how, this time 12 months ago, you actually weren't even thinking that you had a business.
Yeah, I'm always better with a project, and when my youngest was about 6 months old, so about 18 months ago, I was in kind of a lost space, and so I started this project. My husband said, God, you'll be so much better with a project. I didn't know it was a business, and then eventually I came across the We Network, and I started to listen to other women talking about what they were doing in their businesses, and then I was like, this is a business. Oh, okay, actually, hang on a minute. Oh, and so that kind of business, real self-esteem that comes along with that too.
Yeah.
Taking yourself seriously, I think.
Yeah.
And other women taking you seriously in the group too.
Yeah, and that is a mindset shift, especially when you've grown, you've done this incredible thing by growing this big audience who follows you and is really passionate about the way that you do things and really resonates with the message that you put across. You sort of inadvertently did what a lot of people now say is a great way to approach business, which is to grow a community of fans for the way that you do things. And then when you've got products and services to sell, you've already got a platform to sell them to. But I think it was quite clever because you already also knew who your target market was. So you'd thought about that a lot in the early stages, and you kind of guided your community to being the types of people that were actually also prepped to buy product off you, which is amazing. To watch you go from that place of just being a blogger to having some, earning some income through influencers, and then just basically kind of expanding your product suite to include a whole lot of other things. So it's been a huge 12 months for you, and I was really interested to hear from you, and I think other women in business will be interested to hear from you about some of the big challenges that you've had to overcome in the last 12 months.
I was saying to Rachel before, I always considered myself to be seriously resilient and really, really strong and probably a bit bolshy. But when you start out something new like this, you second guess yourself at every turn. And it's really hard because you're not an expert and you want to be an expert. And of course, there's all these other bloggers out there that are doing this amazing thing and you want to be like them. And you kind of get that, it's not really envy so much as just like, you want to get to where they're at and you want to do it yesterday. And, they've been doing it for years. So I guess learning not to compare myself so much, to be in the space that you're at in the journey. And I find that really, really hard. But yeah, not to compare myself to what everyone else is doing, and also that I've just become so much more resilient. So when I figured out that I actually was an entrepreneur and that that's what I'm doing, and then you said to me, basically being an entrepreneur is being a problem solver. And so if that's what you want to do in your everyday life, then that can be your job. You need to make a decision whether that works for you or not. I started to get so much more resilient because every time a big problem was thrown at me, I went, this is part of my job. My job today is to work out what this big problem is. Why can't I get through to the next point, or why can't I get this part finished? And as soon as I've got through that roadblock, then I can carry on. So basically, that's what I've learned. Being an entrepreneur is being a problem solver.
And that's all a part of the mindset journey of it, isn't it? And I think you were saying how what used to happen is something massive would happen and you'd just feel frozen by it and totally overwhelmed and like you couldn't keep going with it because, oh my God, this big drama's just happened and, I just can't go on because that changes everything. But now it's kind of like, okay, well, this has happened. How am I going to deal with it and just move forward? Because I have to get this project done because it's my dream and I want it to happen. So I will find a way around it because that's that's what I'm good at as an entrepreneur.
And Rachel always talks about, you always talk a lot about your why, knowing what your why is. You need it in that moment. Like, for me, my why is that I desperately don't want women to feel the way I used to feel about myself, which was second-guessing myself all the time, questioning my body and what it looked like, not presenting the me I wanted to present because I didn't feel confident enough. You have to remember that all that time. It's like somewhere out there's women sitting there that need to be empowered, that need to have beautiful clothes, that need to feel great about themselves and to know that fashion's for them. And I'm sitting here having a cry because I haven't been able to get a shipment of tops or something. You have to put it in perspective. I need to get this thing done so that I can get to them so they can do what they need to do. And it's kind of a cycle. And so if you know what your why is and you can reconnect to that when things go really wrong, it makes a huge difference. Yeah,
it does. And I think that's one thing. This month in the VIP Members Club, we're focusing on branding. And I just love branding because I feel like if you've got this really concrete brand for your business, if you're really, really solid on it, if you know your vision and you know your values inside out, you stop worrying about your competitors because you realize that you're so different from them and you've got your own unique values and vision. So what your competitors are doing become really no longer that relevant because even though they're in the same space to you, their message is quite different than yours, and the more you focus on them, the more time you're wasting focusing on your own goals and your own end vision. So really, really love how in the branding boot camp we've been talking a lot about creating those values and vision, really honing down on them and continuing to work on your vision and values as your business progresses and reflecting back on them all the time, because that's what I do. I'm always going back to it, especially when I go off track and I find I have those days where I'm flitting from one task to another and don't quite know what I'm doing, and sometimes I just have to say stop, go back, revisit your vision and values, and always then I think to myself, gosh, I haven't got time to waste because I really want to do this and it's really, really important to me. So I think it's great that you've got that strong brand and that strong why from the very beginning. It really helps you with your messaging and it's really helping you to get the word out there quickly about what you're trying to do. So that's awesome. So and awesome to see that mindset shift over the first 12 months, just from being in a space where you feel like the challenges are kind of insurmountable to going to a position where you are becoming more resilient, because that's really, that in my experience, and that's what I've learned, the only way you're going to keep going successfully in the long term is to be really resilient and find a way around it, because you have to stay in the game. And if you don't stay in the game, you won't get that successful business. And as we know, most businesses end up failing. So the key is to just stay in the game, have self-belief that you can figure things out, and lean on those people around you to for support when you need it as well.
And I think making that, like you said, making that conscious decision that, okay, this is what the life of an entrepreneur is going to be. This is what the life of being a businesswoman is going to be. Do I want to do this? Yes, I do. If you're committed to it, I think that makes a difference, as opposed to just kind of floating along and, oh, well, maybe I'll, you got to decide it for your life.
Yeah, and I was sharing with someone yesterday how I heard a really great, it was actually a childcare article that I read the other day, and it was talking about working with young children in early childcare and what to do when your child starts saying, I can't do it, or I'm not good at this, and how as a parent your natural inclination is to say, you are good at it, or keep trying, you can do it, but really you're just kind of, that's like sort of saying to a child, no, what you've said is just wrong, I'm not listening to you, you can do it, and they actually can sometimes get more frustrated with you. And there's this magic word that this article was talking about using, which is yet. And so all you need to say to your child is, no, you're not good at it yet, but if you continue to practice, or if you do this, you will become better at it. And that really resonated with me, because I thought that it really suited the business environment as well. So often we are consumed with that negative self-talk for ourselves of, well, I'm not good at the financial side of it, so I'm just going to ignore that this month, or, I'll work on that another time because I'm not great with that, or I'm just naturally a procrastinator. But if we stop telling ourselves those things and we start telling ourselves, well, I'm not good at the financial side of it yet, but I'm practicing, then you sort of become that more resilient entrepreneur again, because you're in that space of business training. Like, just because you've got a business, you're not a business professional. And I always like to think that I'm constantly in training as a business owner, and I'm constantly learning. And I think that helps me push through some of those tough times as well, and just recognize my strengths and weaknesses and what I need to be working on now.
I've kind of like mentally gone this first 3 years of business, so I'm like 18 months in, right? But as you know, only recently I've decided in my head, oh, it's a business. But I always think of myself as this first 3 years of business as my degree. Like, I don't have a business degree, I have a teaching degree. So I go, okay, this is my training. So instead of going back and going to university, I'm investing time and some money, of course, in myself. And this is my training time. And so it's not going to be easy because I'm practicing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That'll also help you get through those early stages. And you have just done so much so far already. And for someone that doesn't have a background in kind of social media, you have done so well with building an audience on social media. And I know that you do some work as an influencer, and you wanted to share some tips with people today, because I know a lot of you guys out there probably think about maybe working with influencers, or wonder what sort of impact it might have on your business if you find some influencers who you could work with. So I wanted to pick Monique's brains a little bit today about what you should be thinking about if you are considering working with an influencer, and also how to approach it if you make the decision to do it.
Yeah, so if you guys want to type in the comments as you go, because we'd love to hear, have any of you worked with any influencers, or are you thinking about it, or any questions about it, then we can answer them as we go through. Because it's a really hot topic at the moment, right? There's bloggers everywhere. So people go, oh, well, maybe if I'll get them to use my product, and then maybe I'll sell some. Well, the answer to that is yes, you will, or you won't, unfortunately. Because like any sort of advertising, it has to be targeted to your target market. So the first thing I'd ask is that before you go and talk to any blogger or any influencer, you know really clearly who your audience is. It's super important. So whether your audience is maybe women 35 to 44 that have their, that are out in the workforce and have money to spend, or whether it's young moms or whatever it is, you need to know really specifically who that person is. We always say, create an avatar for that person. So call her a name, go, her name's Tanya, she's 35, she lives in Auckland, she's got 4 kids, and she needs more time to herself, or whatever it is. Find out what it is that they need. There's no point sending your product to an influencer and getting them to do a sponsored post if they don't have the same audience as you, and the influencer should know really clearly who their audience is, and when they're online, obviously. They will be able to tell you that from their stats. They should be able to tell you roughly how many people are going to see a post as well. Oh, that's a good question. I'm not absolutely clear on what or who they are. Can you explain who this is? Cheers. Oh, that's such a good question. People ask me this all the time. What's your job? And I tell them, and they're like, oh, what is that? Okay, so for example, Katie, I've got a blog called Dressing Up, and it's a fashion blog. So I talk about fashion, and then I have a big audience of people that follow the blog and talk about fashion with me and ask me questions about fashion. I prefer to be called a blogger, but basically in marketing terms or advertising terms is called an influencer. So what it means is, say you'd give me your product, Katie, which could be a dress, say, and I create some sponsored content around that. So I might create a blog post around, you know, the best dresses this season, or I might share some photos of me wearing it on Instagram, and you would pay me a fee to do that, and I would disclose to my audience that it was a paid for post. That's really important. Please make sure that your influencers are disclosing if things are either gifted or paid. I'll just stop for a sec and tell you that Rachel's going to put up a worksheet about everything I'm talking about in the group, in the We group later on.
In the files in the We community, you'll be able to find it, but I will post to it in the We community as well, so you can see it.
So you can find it, because I talk fast. So that's basically the job of the influencer, is to connect the brand and the buyer, right? So you give me your brand and I connect you with the buyer. It's really important to understand that the role of the influencer is about giving credibility to your brand and about brand awareness. It's not necessarily about selling the product. For someone to buy your product, they have to see it many times, normally, many times. And working with a blogger or an influencer is another way of doing that. Once they've clicked through, so say the blogger gives a link to the product and the person in the audience clicks through, it's then your job to do the sale. So you have to make sure that your imagery on your website and that your copy and your branding is clear enough that they then buy into your product and want to buy the thing. So it's kind of like, it's another way to direct traffic to your website, basically, by giving us the product and we promote it for you.
And I think that's actually a key point that you've made, because I see people making this mistake quite a lot with advertising opportunities and marketing opportunities that they're given, and I even see it in the VIP market day that we have in the We community for our VIP members, is that you've got this opportunity to promote your business or your space, and just posting and saying this is what I sell isn't going to sell anything. Like, you've got to give more than that. You've got to help people know, like, and trust you. And often these marketing and advertising opportunities are just there to help you build that profile and build that know, like, and trust. So sometimes doing a direct sales post and saying, you know, this is what I've got on offer this week, click on over here to buy it, it isn't going to get you any results. What you want to be doing is showing people how you make it, or you know, showing people you wearing it as you walk down the street, or you know, whatever, talking about, if you're a service provider, talking about the difference that you've made to a customer, or even interviewing a customer on a Facebook Live or something like that, so that people can get to know, like, and trust you. And over time you can use those opportunities to build really an audience from those platforms. So I think it's really important to take that responsibility on yourself. Like, just because a blogger mentions your or an influencer mentions your product doesn't mean it's going to sell for you, and you can't then blame it on the blogger or the influencer if you don't make a sale, because this is part of your funnel to make the sale, and you've got to make sure that you've got control over that process, and that people see what the blogger or influencer is saying and think, oh, well, that's interesting, I'm going to check it out. And then when they check it out, they fully come into your grasp, and you really engage them with something great, and then they become a part of your community as well.
Because people have barriers to sales, right? So they've got all these barriers in front of them, whether it would be the shipping's expensive, or the price, or whatever the thing is, or if they don't know if it's going to fit. And what you're basically doing is bringing in a third party to take down the barrier. So they go, oh my goodness, I know that I fit the stuff that Monique fits, or I know that I like what she has, and she's got it, so I know I want it. So it's just another way to take down the barrier, basically. I just want to quickly touch on relationships, if I've got a second to do that. It's absolutely crucial, I feel, and from my perspective, that you have a relationship with the influencer, because they will have a strong relationship with their reader. So if you are working with an influencer, you want to make sure that you're working with someone who's really strongly aligned with your brand. So either they love it, they'd wear it, or their brand is like yours. Brand values are huge, and you yourself should know them, I feel. That's a really tricky one, because when you're getting to really high level influencers, so people that have got, you know, 50,000 people following them, they often go through PR agencies, which I understand, but you still can get to talk to that influencer on the phone and make sure that they are aligned with what you're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you definitely have to have that values alignment, because what you don't want to do is promote your product with an influencer who hasn't got a values alignment, and then people are coming, they know that influencer or that blogger inside out, and then they look at your stuff and they're like, oh, there seems to be a bit of a disconnect there, or something's not quite right. You're not probably reaching the right audience if you haven't got that real values connect, and you'll know when you see a blogger from their platform and their vibe whether that's something that matches the reputation of your own community. But yeah, I would always be, it's obviously going to be better if you know the person, because then they can speak from the heart about you, and they're going to be more passionate and more empowered to do a great job of helping you sell your product.
And don't be discouraged. Do you discourage brand rep searches, etc. on social media? Oh gosh, okay, this is a huge can of worms. Okay, so I personally, yes. The answer is yes for me. So
I don't actually know what brand searches is. What do you mean?
I'll tell you. So Willow Boutique. So what's your name? Sorry, whoever's at Willow Boutique, I'd love to know what your name is so I can actually talk to you directly. So a brand rep search on social media is where a brand goes, say a clothing brand. We're looking for people to represent our brand, and they'll give free product to, say, 15 influencers or 15 people on the internet. And they'll wear the brand and take photos of it. I have so many issues with this. The first thing is that being an influencer is a paid job. So, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, Kimberly. Hi, Kimberly. Thank you. So, being an influencer for me is something I'm really passionate about, and my audience are precious to me. You know, these are these women that I speak to every day, and I won't tell them I love something unless I really do. So, that's part of it. But I kind of feel like you get what you pay for. So there's two sides from this. From a brand perspective, you get what you pay for. You want great work, you want people that can target your audience really, really well. You need to pay for it. It's advertising, right? That's how it works. From the other side of it, if you're just giving away free product, they are not necessarily representing your brand in a professional way. Now, there are ways to give away free product. I hope I'm being clear about this. There are ways to give away free product. If you talk to a blogger, they love your brand, and you want to send them something free, and it aligns with them, they can choose to use it or not because you haven't paid them. But it still can be a good way to promote your brand as long as you've built a proper relationship with them. I'm trying to think of a kind of good way to explain this. So I would never do that myself, Kimberly. So if someone said to me, oh, would you like to be a brand ambassador for blah, blah, blah? I'm like, to me, an ambassador, if I'm an ambassador for your brand, if I'm telling my audience that I feel so strongly about your brand that I'm going to be an ambassador for it, I'm going to do a lot of work for that, and there's going to be a pretty decent price tag for the amount of marketing I'm going to do for your brand. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I know what you're saying, Kimberly, is heaps of small businesses do it. I've always just approached people I follow and love, but I just wonder what your opinion on rep searches was. Yeah, I don't understand it from a brand perspective. When I see a brand going, oh, we want 15 brand reps and we're going to give you free stuff.
I see what you mean.
What's the point?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, surely no big blogger, no established blogger who can get paid for it is going to do a whole lot of work for you for a free t-shirt. So therefore you must be working with people who don't have either much of an engaged following or I don't know, it kind of feels like an insult to the influencing community from the brand that they're going, hey, we're looking for 15 people to do this work for free so we don't have to pay anyone to do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I guess, what about though in a circumstance where you've got a small business and you know that you've got some people in your audience who really, really, really love what you do.
Yeah.
And they might be prepared to go and speak to people about you, I guess, in exchange for some stuff. I guess if you already know that they're like a raving fan, then it's a bit more authentic. But the risk behind just putting it out there to your community and saying this is what we're looking for and this is what we're going to give is that people won't actually be authentic and genuine followers.
And I think as long as you have those people, and it's horses for courses because everybody's business is different. But I think if you have those people, make sure they hashtag gifted if you're gifting product so that the audience is aware that this isn't just 15 people miraculously wearing your product. This is a relationship you've entered into as a brand. if it works for you, it works for you. Do you know what I mean? For me, I would feel like there's no big give and take there in the relationship. And I don't get me wrong, because I am working with women, some women in the We group already that haven't paid me, where I am genuinely in love with their product and I'm representing it. You know? But of course I say that it's gifted, and of course they know that I love it. And normally it's happened more in a roundabout way that I love their product in the first place.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The other thing is about creating relationships. I've recently done a fashion post with a brand. I've worn their dress 6 more times on the blog since then. Not because they've paid me, but because they let me choose the dress. So I loved the dress. I did the initial post and I'm still wearing the dress, and people are still seeing the dress and buying the dress. So that's what I'm talking about with relationships. If you treat your influencer like part of your brand and like you're all pushing forward together, they'll become part of your brand, and that can only be good for what you're doing.
Yeah, so what would you say around if you were a small business owner and you wanted to start working with an influencer or some influencers to try and get more exposure for your brand? What would you say about how would you go about creating that sort of strategy behind starting out with influencers, and what would the end goal be, and the purpose of the whole thing, and then how would you bring it together, step by step action?
It's a very long question.
Yes, it is a long question. Let's kind of keep going.
There's many things. I would start. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Kimberly. Yes, you're right. There's been a huge uproar with mum bloggers about having to disclose if something is gifted, sponsored. Look, and that to me is just about being authentic with your audience. You know, if I've gone down to the shop and bought it, it's different than if someone's posted it to me and it's landed on my doorstep. And I guess I know that my audience is everything. So if at any point the women that follow me start going, this isn't authentic, Monique doesn't really love this, and they know me, right? They're talking to me every day, so they know me, then that's the end of the dream, and I can no longer bring that confidence to people. So
and I think people aren't
that's
stupid.
They're not stupid. Gosh, I mean, if I show up with some amazing ridiculous flash car, let's hope that happens one day, and go, oh look, I just popped down to Audi and bought this, you guys are going to go,
yeah,
whatever. No, you didn't. So to start working with influencers, okay, so again, it's all about building relationships. If you really love a blogger or an influencer, get on there with under your brand name and comment on their stuff. They'll see it. They'll start to notice you. They'll click through. They'll look at your brand. Gosh, they might even buy something from you. Imagine that.
Do you know, actually, skip that last question because I've got another question. Yeah. Sometimes I've looked at someone's blog or website because I've noticed they've got a big following, and I think maybe they'll be right for me to align with get them to work for me as an affiliate. Yeah. And then I can't find any of their information. And it's like, is this all like some sort of secret club that I don't know anything about? Because
you want the media kit.
Yeah, well, I just want to find out how I would pay them to promote my products and services.
So normally, I'm not really, but people are super precious about their media kits because there's no blanket rule about how much bloggers charge, and that's really hard when you're starting out to know how much you should charge, because it's like a random number out of the sky, so you just have to calculate it basically for your time. So what you want to do is, if you want to work with a blogger, I would be following them, commenting on their stuff, and then I would be sending them an email and asking them for their media kit.
Yeah.
No blogger wants to hear straight off the bat, I haven't got any budget for this, but can you do this for me? That's not building a relationship. That's just asking for free stuff. I wouldn't email a brand and go, hey, can you give me some free stuff? So it's a two-way street. So email them and go, look, this is what I'm looking to do. This is what my product is. This is what I really love about what you do. I'm hoping we can work together some way. Could you send me your media kit? If they send you their media kit and it's crazy expensive, you can just reply and go, look, my budget is only XYZ, but I would love to work with you. If anything comes up in the future, let me know. So often, I mean, if they love and adore what you do, you're going to be able to find a middle ground. And you can get an influencer to do something from kind of $50, up to $10,000. And if you're a Kardashian, millions of dollars. So you're probably going to be able to come to some kind of middle ground, I think. It's not as scary as it sounds. And I think a lot of influencers out there, like I do, obviously love women in small business and want to support that. I would rather work with you than, you know, H&M. Like, they don't need me.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to approach. And I think a good influencer will be able to guide you through the process. So they should be able to say, this is what I would do if I were you. This is what you can do for this much money, that much money, or that much money. But if this is who you want to reach, this is the best way to do it. And then you can negotiate back and forth from there.
Yeah.
But I do think you should be prepared to give them some time, help them learn about your brand.
Yeah.
And then pay them.
And look, just sending that email is great, because even if their fee is out of reach for you at the moment, I always talk about my dream outsourcing list, and that would just be on my dream list of things that I want to be doing in the near future if I can. And you know, it's out of my budget right now, but I'm putting it on my pinboard as it's going to be in the budget soon, and somehow I'll just keep building that relationship with that person. Hopefully over time they'll just decide that they like me and they'll bring their price down a little bit, or something will happen, and I'll be able to budget to pay for that,
or
and
you'll
I'll
be able to
make
do
it happen myself.
some kind of collaboration. That's the other thing, is that, you know, collaboration, not competition. Oh my goodness, if you can find someone out there to collaborate with, perfect. Do it that way.
Hey, and I wanted to talk to you about, I read something the other day about micro influencers and how people sometimes don't consider micro influencers because they're thinking if they wanted to use someone in the influencer space, they want to use someone that's got this big audience. But sometimes micro influencers can be quite powerful.
Absolutely.
So does it work the same way? And would a micro influencer actually still have that media kit and everything, or would it be a more...
They should do. If the person you're approaching considers themselves to be in business, basically, they should have a media kit. I would be expecting any blogger I approach to have a media kit. Obviously, they might give you a different price for something if you want to add something on. But micro influencers are, I guess the best way to explain them, they've got smaller audiences, like me, because I've got 5,500 people on dressing up, so I don't have, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000. But not to be discounted, because often their audiences are very, very engaged. So when you've got less people, you've got more time, right, to spread across all of those people. So often they're people that have been following you from the very beginning. They're very dedicated readers. They will read, every single thing that you've written and respond. And, like I've got the sort of follower that sends photos to me of them in the changing room and goes, do you like this? Do you like that? What do you think of this one? Oh, I heard you saying about yellow the other day, but I prefer green, which that's what you want, is that relationship. So yeah, don't discount the micro. Do you pay collaborators, or is a collaboration about splitting the project and not paying each other? That's a great question. When someone sends me a message saying they want to collaborate, I generally know that they don't want to pay me.
Yeah.
And the problem is, lots of brands say to bloggers, especially bloggers with really big numbers, oh, it's great exposure for you. Now, if you've got 1,000 people liking your Facebook page and your person you're wanting to work with has got 40,000 people liking their Facebook page, they don't really need your exposure unless it's an international, ad campaign or something. So bloggers don't really like to work for exposure. Does that make sense? I mean, no one does, really. Generally, collaboration means not paid if you're doing a collaboration project, but not always. Not always.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on the project, I guess. I think the key focus is to just make sure that it's a win-win for both of you. And you feel like it's a kind of equivalent win-win, because what you don't want to have happen, and this kind of gets into the whole partnership marketing or partner marketing realm, and what I learned a wee while ago about partner marketing is that you should treat it like a relationship. So instead of sort of looking at Monique and me saying, right, I want to work with her and I want her to be a brand partner and tell her network about my brand and everything, I would think, okay, well, maybe we could start small and maybe we could collaborate on a blog post together, which is talking about dressing up, or we could do this interview together and start building that relationship. And so you kind of go into this dating type scenario. And then when your dating continues and you're like, oh, we have got aligned values and this is going well, and we really blend, then you might go into some sort of more formal type engagement type project where you do a short-term project together or something like that. and then after that, if that's worked really well as well, then you can get married. But don't jump into marriage before you know that you're actually, you know, a good partnership, because that's when things can go a little bit wrong.
So be super confident about creating my media kit now. Yes, create your media kit. Natalia, go and do it now. And that's back to values aligning. There's a wonderful woman in this group called Emma Jane, and she's a stylist at Sisterhood of Style, and I'm doing a video with her tonight. Now, she's not been going as long as me, right? And so her numbers aren't as established. I'm not working with her because I want her audience. I'm working with her because of what she can give to my audience. So our values are aligned. We believe in the same things. She's fun. She's hilarious. We get on like a house on fire. I want her energy and her positivity for my reader. And that's back to having that authenticity about what you do.
Yeah, and also being really customer centric, because you're constantly thinking,
the more I can give my customer, the more I can give my reader, the happier we all are.
Yeah, and how can I just make their day a little bit better by, you know, what I'm doing in my business, and help them, just have a better journey and have a better life through what I'm doing in my business. And that helps make you always remember, to do those things that sometimes it doesn't even matter sometimes it doesn't matter if it's business related or not. It just can be fun, and because sometimes we just need a little bit of fun and to forget about the whole business journey, because it is overwhelming and sometimes we need some time out, and it's great to have that time out with other women in business who are going through the same things as well. So there's just so much importance to be placed on, I think, having those values alignment and being customer centric all the time, and just reflecting on how can I make the day better, and how can I make them feel better about where they're at the moment, and bringing on key influencers or other partners in your business who support those things is just a great way to do it, because it just brings energy.
And just think a little bit, if you're working with influencers, about how you do it. If you've got a product you're super excited about, but you're going to give it to 5 different influencers at once and they're all going to release it, you're going to give your audience saturation and they're going to not feel like it's genuine. So you don't want that either.
Yeah.
So I would be starting small. I'd be choosing one person, seeing how the relationship goes for a little while, and then extending from there, making sure that, of course, the post is staggered. And your influencer should ask you that. Is there anyone else using this product at the moment? Who are they? And, you know, you probably should be able to disclose that. And when is it being released, because they'll make sure that it's not at the same time, because it's not a great look for your product.
Okay, thank you so much, Monique. I think unless there's other questions that have come through, if you've got any more questions, hit us with them now, because we'll be finishing up soon. But if you've got any more questions about the influencer space or even social media, Monique's been pretty good on that. I always lean on her for social media tips and advice, and she's always putting pressure on me to do more, which I should be doing more. I wanted to just touch on again before we finished up the fact that Monique has created this incredible business, and just recently she's launched, she's got Dressing Up, which is her blog, and she's launched Dressing Room, which I have just kind of been totally blown away with, because I'm a service provider and I've stayed in my safe little service provider's space, and the idea of product and suppliers and creating things of that sort of scale and postage and all those kind of things is just a whole nother level of business to me. And I really take my hat off to you for having created all of that in the limited time frame that you have, with the limited resources and everything that you guys are probably going through as well. So she's really done a whole lot of stuff. So do go over and check out her website, Dressing Up, and the new shop, Dressing Room, because she's got some incredible clothes in there. And she's also got, if you are like me and you wear jeans and a top every day, and it's basically like a uniform, and you want to pep up your wardrobe and make it look a little bit cooler, and also make your like that dressing experience in the morning a little bit more fun, because mine's pretty drab and my wardrobe's looking pretty bad at the moment. She also has a brilliant style guide, so you can pop over to her website and buy her style workbook, which will help you cleanse your wardrobe and just streamline it, I guess. And
actually figure out what you like, because that's a crucial thing. Gosh, I work with women in their wardrobes, and I go, well, let's start with what you like, and they go, So figure out what you like, figure out what you've already got, and figure out what to buy next, basically.
Yeah, awesome. So you can head over to the Dressing Room website and buy the ebook off the website. And there's also just a reminder that within the We Facebook community, the We community, you can go on there, and in the files later today we'll be putting just a file document with guidelines to working with influencers.
I'll be starting home-based hair clinic soon. Any marketing tips? And just thinking to treat women and girls at this moment in the Hawke's Bay.
That's a small question, but a big question.
That's a huge question. I was actually just thinking who the influencers are that are in her area.
Yeah,
you need to find out who's blogging in the Hawke's Bay, because anyone near you will actually be able to promote your salon. Obviously there's not much point having someone else promote it from a different place. You need people in the Hawke's Bay.
Yeah, and I just will always say, when anyone says, what marketing tips do you have for me, I want to get the word out there on my business. Don't bother starting until you know and you've got that document of what your vision is, where you want your business to be in 3 or 5 years' time, and what your values are and what your business stands for and what message you're going to be putting across, because you get those 5 or 6 key values written down, and your messaging, your images that you use, the copy that you put on your website, the things that you put on your all of the text that you put on your social media posts, all that kind of thing, it starts to flow because you really understand the core of your brand. And if you haven't done that yet, then marketing is almost going to be a little bit of wasted time for you, because you're going to be putting conflicting messages up there and people aren't going to know if you're for them. So you get the message right and you will attract the tribe that are ready to buy your product. So really hone in. If you need to, that's when I would say reach out for some help with your vision and values and getting that brand message really tightly put together. And if you feel like you're flailing in your business at the moment and not making enough sales, go back to that. That is the foundation that you need to start with.
Can I just give you one little practical tip? I'm really passionate about Facebook for beginners, for new businesses, because obviously it's one of your most important tools. Everyone needs to remember that Facebook is a social network. So if you're not being social, other people aren't going to socialize with you. So you can't expect people to come and find your page and like your page unless you're getting your page out there. So the best thing you can do, the number one thing you can do, is go into your business profile and go through and like a whole bunch of pages that will then fill up your news feed that you can interact with for 5 minutes every morning. So when I go in the morning and look at my pages feed, I've got all of these fashion brands around New Zealand and other people that do similar things that I do, and I like and I comment on their things, and then they go, dressing up, what's dressing up? And they click through and they go, she's a blogger, okay. And then they like my page and there we are. So it's a give and take. People need to get to know who you are. So you need to be commenting on other people's social media,
and especially
at least 5 minutes a day.
If you've got a local business, you want to become that local personality in your niche. So
if you're in the Hawke's Bay, you need to find all the small businesses around your area in the Hawke's Bay, and you need to be liking and commenting on their Facebook pages so that they get to know who you are, and then they can refer you.
And I just think, as a bonus, the coolest thing about doing things that way and being prepared to put yourself out there like that is that you start meeting new people. And I mean, the most horrible time of my business life was when I was in my first business, so isolated, and I was trying to do everything on my own, and I was trying to overcome problems on my own, and we created our own software system because we didn't know who to trust to help us to create it. And that was when we were in London, and London, business in London is another kettle of fish than it is in New Zealand. But one of the key strengths that you have as a business owner in New Zealand is community, because we're so small and people here want to help. So if you are prepared to put yourself out there and become the personality in your niche, in your area, do it, because it's going to enrich your business and it's going to enrich your life, and you're going to meet amazing people like I've met Monique and all of the wonderful women.
And we just happen to live around the corner from each other, which is bizarre.
You want to make this business journey a little bit more fun, and you'll do it by pushing your boundaries a little bit and being prepared to start talking about your message and getting it out there. So it's a really cool, fun thing to do, and it will enrich your life as well as your business.
I'm feeling more confident now. Yay.
Oh, that's awesome.
Trish, that's a great question about commenting as your business page. That's really tricky, because I've noticed that a lot of bloggers, which I know is different from what you do, but that a lot of bloggers comment with their own name and then some comment with their business page. I personally think it makes, I mean, I keep my personal page and my business page completely separate. So I like to comment as my business page because that's my business persona and that's my life in which I'm interacting with those people. Do you know what I mean? My personal page and my personal profile is for my friends and family. So yes, I would be commenting as my business. However, I don't think you can comment as your business in groups, can you?
Yeah, you can. You can.
Oh, you can now.
Yeah, if you connect your page to your group, you can comment as your page.
Right.
And I think there's quite a lot still to be learnt about what the purpose of that is. And I think also some of it is that you can measure the results better, so you can see the reach that your post has got and that kind of thing. So
I do think it's worth, if you're invested in whatever you're commenting on, it's worth disclosing who you are though, Trish. So for example, you'd say, you know, that you're a sleep consultant or a baby coach. If you were commenting on something that was to do with that, if you were commenting with your personal name, so you'd go, you know, disclosure, I'm a baby coach, but I feel da 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 da, just to make sure that you're not, because you're not really commenting as a singular person, you are commenting as what your business is. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Trish says she feels that she's intruding if she comments with her business page. I think it depends. I mean, I have to say, if I put a post up somewhere about Amelia not sleeping or something like that, and Trish, you were to comment on my post and I didn't know you, I'll probably be quite grateful to know that a baby expert had made a comment on the post. So whether you post as your page and I read the comment and think, oh, that's awesome, well, she's an expert, I'm going to take that advice and, you know, consider it seriously, or whether you post as a person and say, oh, I'm a baby coach and this is what I do, wouldn't really make that much difference to me.
No, it doesn't make any difference to me personally. I don't, I have a stylist comment on my blog with their business name, and I'm totally cool with that, because, I mean, as I say, I believe in collaboration, so fine. You're not jumping on there trying to have a competition with me. So I'm not concerned about it. I don't know. Maybe we need to look into that a little bit more, because it's a really good question.
Yeah. I think it's just also new
I
as
could
well.
ask some of the other bloggers I know that too in a blog forum, because I've noticed that some of them do it with their business name and some of them do it with their own name. Be interesting to see what the what's behind that, Trish.
Actually, and if you're interested in keeping up with all the Facebook updates and changes that they're making and the way that that can impact your business, follow Mari Smith on Facebook, or Social Media Examiner. She also often blogs for them, but Mari Smith has got a huge Facebook following and she works closely with Facebook, and she's always giving their latest updates, and I discovered her recently. It's been quite good, because
How do you spell it, Mari?
They go Mari, M-A-R-I. Smith, and we can post that in the comments afterwards as well.
Estelle says, I launched a new business last year in event management, and in the Waikato it's hard industry to take off. I'm thinking of heading off another direction with my qualification and
don't know what to do.
Estelle, what else are you thinking you'd like to do? I'm thinking of heading off another direction with my qualification and something. Estelle, come back to us in a minute.
Yeah, but that's a really hard space to be, and I know that I think events can be probably quite hard, especially if there's already people in the local community who are doing those events. But again, I don't know, I just always feel like I've got, this might be a crazy thing to say, so much self-belief that I always decide once I've decided to do something, I'm just going to do it, and I will find a way to become the best person in that area doing what I want to do. And you've just got to have that self-belief and that drive that you can do that as well.
One of my lovely bloggy friends says, do it better. Every time you go, but they're doing this, and they go, do it better. Love it. Getting more study under my belt, is that a common feeling for a first timer?
Yeah, it is. It so is, I think.
Do you need to study more? Like, actually? And I'm really asking you this, Estelle. Like, do you think it will make a huge difference? Is it that you don't actually believe in what you do enough? Or is it that you don't feel like you have the skills to do it?
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes you can just learn it and fake it as you make it, you know? By networking and being with the right people and reading and doing stuff online, and sometimes you do have to retrain. So I don't.
I think it comes back down to that yet word. You know, you think, okay, well, my business is not as successful as I wanted it to be. That's one voice in your head. Or the other voice in your head is, well, my business is not as successful as I wanted it to be yet. what do I need to do to make it get there? And really, I think it comes down to how much do you want it to happen? Because if you really, really want to have the biggest and best events business in the Waikato, then you will stick with it and you'll find a way to make that happen. But if you are thinking about retraining, do you need to just keep retraining in that space, or should you be thinking about what business skills you need to pick up in order to help you get to where you want to be with that business? So it might be time to have a serious think with yourself about your dream and your why. And I think a lot of the time, more and more you hear from people these days that when they're feeling weak in their business and when they're feeling like they might give up, they go back to their why. And if you've got a really strong why, then that helps you be resilient and get over that point and make those decisions that you need to make. But if you're feeling a bit disconnected with your why and you're not really sure that this is the right thing for you right now, then spend some time with it. Remove yourself from the day-to-day and think about your business again, and think about the potential of that business and what your life could be like if it was successful, and is that what you want to have happen for you? And
and also it's probably not going to happen as fast as you think it will. That's my issue, is that I want it all yesterday. I should be earning a full-time wage, I should be contributing to the household, I should be doing this and this and this and this and this, and it's like, well, maybe if you just sit with it for a bit and take it step by step, you know, things can change really quickly. Yeah,
and I think it's a really, really common question to think, okay, I'm not sure whether I should retrain again. I think if you do retrain, there's got to be a purpose to it. It's got to add some sort of extra value to your business that isn't there at the moment, because obviously if you've already started and you've already had some clients, people are coming to you for a reason. So go back to thinking about your brand, your vision, your values, what makes you different, what stands you out, and come back to that core differentiation and positioning of your business, and make sure that you are being different, and then you might start to feel reconnected with your brand again.
I'd love to market myself better through social media, but I don't have much of a budget for investing in social influencers or professional social media marketing advisors. What's some? It cuts off the bottom of the comment, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What's some? Pull out of the camera. What's Oh. No. Okay. Oh, well, I'll tell you anyway, Jessica. I think I know what the end of what you're going to say is. Okay. Consistency and having a plan is the number one thing. I have got a grid I use that I created that tells me how many times I'm going to post a week, and what sort of posts they're going to be, and then I schedule them in advance from the Facebook scheduler. There's heaps of ways you can schedule them, but that's what I do. So I know. And I know it's from experience, so you have to start somewhere and trial it. Bump to push up my comment, I think. No, can't get the end, Jessica. Don't know why. Doesn't matter. So I know that I've got to post, say, 3 blog posts a week, which is 2 new ones and refreshing an old one. I know that I've got to post, say, 2 outfits a week, and I've got to share 2 other things from 2 other bloggers and whatever. The way you make up that formula is totally trial and error. If you go and look in the insights in your Facebook feed, you will see when the best times of day to post are for you. Normally it's about 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. that people are looking at Facebook the most. It can vary on the day depending on who your audience is, but you need consistency, which means at the beginning of the week, or even 2 weeks in advance if you're amazingly organized, which I'm not that organized, scheduling those things, because you go, oh, but I've already posted today, and they're gonna see another thing from me and they're gonna be sick of me. Unfortunately, that's not the truth with Facebook. They're not gonna see it, are they?
No.
Then so you might say have an audience. So I've got an audience of 5,500. Sometimes I get a reach of 1,500. Sometimes I get a reach of 4,000, depending. When you get a reach of 1,500, all it means is that 1,500 people had it in their newsfeed. It doesn't mean they actually saw it. So you go, oh, but 1,500 people saw it. No, not necessarily. 15 people made it into their newsfeed. If they scroll past it, or if they didn't see it at the right time, oh, there's a courier at the door. Yeah, I will. we'll swap seats. Then they didn't necessarily see it. So they may not have seen your post that day at all. You can see the rest of the comments if you turn your phone into portrait instead of landscape. By the way, hi ladies, great informative info. Hi Brooke. Hi Brooke. Brooke is one of my original dressing up followers right from the beginning. Hey Brooke. What's this?
I think what I just got delivered.
You got a present. What is
It's
it?
a plant in a box.
What does it say?
It just says our names on it. I know who it's from. It's from my
Oh.
sister-in-law, which is very sweet.
Oh, that's
'Cause
nice.
our last name is not Kitto, but their name is.
That's
oh,
so
cool.
cute.
Look at it.
Plant and pot.
Plant and pot. And it's a plant in a pot in a box.
That's
Awesome.
adorable.
I'll have
I
to
like
tag
it.
them in so that they know I'm
Yeah.
showing it to everyone.
She's being an influencer right now. Hashtag gifted. No.
Brooke.
So what was I saying? Oh yeah, so consistency.
You can see the rest of the comment if you turn
Yeah, if
your
you turn the phone the other way. Oh, one moment, caller.
Thanks, Brooke.
Da-da-da. Nope.
Oh, it's not
Wait.
working for us.
Hang on. I'll try again. Da-da-da. Are you guys
working for
dizzy? That's not working, Brooke.
No, just put it down.
Good, Brooke. You're wrong. You're wrong. Go put your stripy pants on that you bought for me. Okay. So yeah. So consistency is a major thing, and just remembering that people probably didn't see about knowing who your audience is, and what their problems are. Try and solve one of their problems, but ask them a question. Go, well, how do you feel about da 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 da? And I always think of Facebook kind of like it's a snowball effect. Like you get engagement on one post, and then the next engagement gets more and more and more and more. Does that make sense? Also, use Facebook Live as much as you possibly can, because the posts that are important should be posted after Facebook Live, because that's when you've got the highest engagement. True story. God, I could go on all day. Should we stop? I could go.
Hijack.
Rachel's going. I've got things to talk about.
I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay, yeah, it is actually time to wrap it up because it has been an hour.
We'll just be here all
Amelia
day.
is going to be showing up here soon, and although we all love kids, this is not the time and place.
And we've got work to do.
And we have got work to do, yeah. But thank you so much for coming along and joining us live, guys. It's so awesome to have your questions coming through, and just, know that hopefully we can have helped a little bit with something that we've chit-chatted about over the last hour, which has gone so fast, as I knew it would with
Don't
you.
forget. So talk so much. Don't forget to join the We group, because we will put in the tips for working with influencers in there.
Yeah,
And
so
then
if
you
you're not
can
in
follow
there,
up.
head over and join in and join the conversation. And as you guys hopefully know, or if you don't, it's all about the We Network is all about just making that business journey a little bit easier and a little bit more fun for you as a New Zealand woman in business. And it's based on the factor that we need to be resilient, and we will be more resilient if we're having a little bit more fun, because it's just a better life for us. So we want to support each other and make that journey a little bit easier and a little bit more fun. So come on over and join us in the We Community Facebook group, and make sure you head over to the Dressing Room website and have a look at some of the beautiful clothes that Monique has
And
got on
just
offer.
another plug, if you actually want to talk to me about fashion, which is what I really do, on Dressing Up tonight on the Facebook page, I'll be live with Emma Jane from Sisterhood of Style, who's another member of the We group, and we're going to be talking about makeup and Pinterest hacks and probably drinking wine. So it should be hilarious.
She's got one up on me then.
Come and join us. Yeah, we don't have wine. It's the middle of the day. We're professional women, okay?
All right, thanks so much for coming along, guys, and have a fantastic day, and we look forward to seeing you and hearing where you're at in your own businesses in the We community.
Any more questions, we'll comment on them later.
Yep, keep popping the questions in and we will keep posting them in the comments. Okay, bye guys.